when the whole nationality thing came into picture, I was like, it's giving subtle racism, honestly. We always go for colonist coaches. And here's the funny thing, right? We've not exactly had a great coach in a long time. Keshi had history. In fact, that was even the last great coach we had. Because Keshi had history, right? Think about it. Jose Peseiro was a journeyman. He didn't perform at Venezuela. He didn't perform at... Perhaps the only place he performed was when he worked with Jose Mourinho at Porto. And he wasn't the number one at Porto. He was an assistant. And Magic Pinnick really does a lot of things in football. When you think about it, like, think as far back as you want to. Let's say from 2010 to last Lagaba. Think about it. So who exactly did we bring that you say was... So why is it with an African man we suddenly have an issue?
A wonderful afternoon to you and everyone. It's a beautiful weekend again to speak about football and generally sports that happened in the past week. My name is Olabamiji Ojo. You can call me Big Bam, Bam Bam. The man so big, they name me twice. Anyone you want to call me, man, I'm good with that. And I'm here to talk football with some of the brightest minds in the TSL Sports Lounge community. We have a special guest today, but before we get to him, I'm going to go to my main culprit, Ebola and Treasure. How you guys doing, man?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here again. It's another weekend. We had a good midweek of football. I mean, Arsenal finally won a game.
Is that why you're finally wearing confident to wear your...
I've always worn the
Okay, you gave us the JVC before. That's the old one now. This is the new Arsenal. So you're proud right now,
I mean, I don't have a choice, really. I'm better than some people here. Let me put it that way.
Okay. We'll keep quiet. I'll keep quiet for that. I will come back to you. Over to my left is a treasure who I call Daddy T. How you doing, man?
Bamiji said the brightest minds. I'm not sure I'm as bright as these guys, so to be very candid. Well, it's been good. It's good to see a madness happen. Well, Amadinho, as some people are calling it.
So are you aware that Ahmad has a Premier League hat-trick before
Saka?
Bukayo Saka? Are you aware?
I'm very aware, sir.
Saka is the standard for you guys. Saka has a hat-trick on that ground, you know.
By the way, he also has one before. One golden boy, once a golden boy in Manchester United. Let's just
dragging yourself.
I
gave you that dragging. You're dragging yourself. No problem. Continue. And finally, we have a special guest for today. I like to call this man the silent achiever because looking at him, he's a very quiet guy. But he's really, really, really been massive in the Nigerian sports space. He's worked with a lot of brands. TikTok, Sporty TV. Jidechi, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, Bamiji. I mean, a pleasure to be. The me and the mic, we are fighting this morning. It's not how I wanted to start my Saturday. But yeah, I mean, it's wonderful to be here with you guys. Let's talk about what's been happening.
Fair enough. Let's talk about you a little bit and how it's been venturing into the space of football. Because sometimes today you're a journalist, tomorrow you're an analyst, next tomorrow you're an host. Bro, it's really a lot of talent being put out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this term I've loved to always adopt since I watched, what's the title of this show again? The one where the guy was a coach from the US and came to the Premier League. I've forgotten it. Ted Lasso, yes. Ted Lasso had this guy that Nero has, who always had this term, football is life. And I've adopted it since then. I love that term so much. So, I mean, for me, football is life. I've spent the entirety of my career working in sports, working in football. And at this point, there's no other term to usually describe what the experience is. There will always be the conversation of, do you enjoy what you do for work? And for me, I mean, it's football. It's fun. So, yeah.
How can I cut soup?
How can I cut soup?
Jump into this.
I mean, you're already on the pathway. So... You're doing the right thing. So far, so good. So aside from supporting Mayusha.
Oh, wow.
It's just one win.
That's
so
wow. But quick fire questions there. And what's been your biggest moment so far doing what you do? And like just, I know you came up with Atlant. Let's
Yeah.
put that you came up with Atlant, but ever since you've grown into your role as a fan prostitute, supporting different clubs, both in Nigeria and in Europe. So, but
Sir, please, we have children watching this show. Thank you, sir.
But let's talk about your achievements so far, the major one.
Well, it's what do I really highlight as the biggest? I don't think I've gotten my biggest achievement so far. Let me just say that.
Okay.
I don't think I've gotten my biggest achievement so far. But I think at every point of my career, I've always had, things that stand out. I was most recently with like Pulse Africa. Did some major projects with the team, led a couple of things. Currently where I am, I work with top brands that, the whole scene is different from what I would say I've pretty much experienced. That is a highlight for me. I worked with Heartland in my university days. That's working with a 5-time Nigerian League champion is not something you really easily get into as a university student very early and all of that. So, at every point I've had things I would call highlights in terms of what I would say my biggest highlight so far. I don't think I've had that yet. And I'm definitely hoping that would happen very soon.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Jidechi. I'm sure we're going to get so much of that expertise in the interesting conversations we have for you today. I called him that term because I just found out today. I've known Jidechi for, I think, a year now. You know, and I'm just finding out he's an Arsenal fan. He's found a very good way to conceal the fact that he's an Arsenal fan.
Arsenal fan in quotes.
Let me
just do a quick summary.
He looks like one.
Let me do a quick summary because
What does that even mean?
let me do a quick
The
summary.
first time I met him and we got to talk, I assumed okay, this guy is actually an Arsenal.
What does that mean? Sorry, what's the one thing?
Knowledgeable.
What's the one thing that made you say
Knowledgeable.
he's an Arsenal fan?
Knowledgeable.
He knows
Knowledgeable.
He knows
Nice
Let me
save.
let me put
Chelsea
Nice
fans
save.
on the
Nice
other
save.
hand.
let
Chelsea
me
fans on the
let
other
me
hand. Too
do a
much
quick
gragra.
let me do a quick recap because this is TV and a lot of people are watching. So let me do this because usually the way I landed at Arsenal was because I don't want to always get into a conversation. But let me do this in a few seconds. I used to be a Manchester United fan.
Oh, wow.
Right? I grew up being a Man U fan.
Oh, wow.
And then I think around 2013, 2014, around the time Ferguson left, I left the club, Ferguson left the club. It was around that period my interest in Nigerian football and African football started coming up. And then somehow, as my interest in local football was on the rise, my interest in European football was on the decline. So let's say for 2 years, I didn't really watch Premier League, Champions League. I didn't, between, I think, 2013, 2015, I didn't really know what was going on. I was just interested in getting into the Nigerian football space and what was happening in African football. So that's when I got into the industry. So between 2013 and 2015, I didn't really do football. And then when I had to start doing football again, try to keep up, I couldn't really identify as a Man U fan anymore. Especially because Man U was in the gutters at that point. So why? So I moved on. I moved on.
You say you cannot identify as a United.
I moved on with my life. I moved on. And I'd always loved Arsene Wenger for some reason. Even as a Man U fan, I kind of always wanted him to win because I didn't really like the backlash that happened in the tail end of Wenger's career, where Wenger that had achieved a lot, it now looked like every small thing they are dragging Wenger, and so that was where the whole Arsenal thing, and then Arteta came and the likes of that. So I was moving mostly with players I loved and managers I loved, and somehow I liked Arteta, kind of liked Arteta. So I thought, okay, let Arsenal be the club that when people press your neck and be like, which club this support? I'll say Arsenal, but trust me.
I have a question.
Sure, please fire away.
Please. Do you think Arteta is on the same trajectory as Wenger's last years?
My God, what is that? Are you going to answer that?
Oh my God, I'm not sure.
Okay, it's going to be the fifth.
That's wild. That's wild. Come on.
But thank you very much, Jidechi, for that opening. Let's get into it. And we're going back. There are a lot of games midweek. I really love it because once I get back from work, the first thing I go to turn on is the DSTV, and I'm watching football from then till I sleep off. I think the news broke out. Was it yesterday or the day before? There were rumors about it, and it broke out finally yesterday that Erling Haaland has signed a 9-year contract with Manchester City. First of all, I don't know, man. It sounded a bit weird to me because, yeah, maybe we can see Chelsea amortizing some midfielders for 12 years and stuff like that. But a striker who is on top of his game, who probably will still be looking to move to Real Madrid or Barcelona, decided to say, okay, for 9 years, I'm going to remain in the Premier League. Do you guys feel anything fishy? Let me come to you.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I mean, my mind went again back to the 115 charges. For some reason, my mind just went back there. And if you're signing a 9-year deal, I believe that the player and the club probably know where they stand with 115 charges at this point in time. Either they know that, I mean, the charges are going to be dropped, so the player will be there for 9 years and then can focus on, I mean, playing football for 9 years, staying at the club for 9 years, becoming a legend, breaking, I mean, there are a lot of goal records to break. And obviously, next 5-6 years.
He's coming for Shearer's record.
Yeah, I mean, it won't even take 9 years to break the record.
Actually, at all.
Wow.
I mean,
At all.
Or maybe the 9-year deal is, they also know that the 115
safety
charges, it's a safety net from that 115 charges, and then they have something underground that he can leave if, I mean, that's what just came to my mind. I feel 9 years is...
Brilliant perspective. JT, which of these scenarios do you think it is? Which of them?
Honestly speaking, I don't see it as either of those. I mean, I honestly did not consider 115 charges thing. First thing that came to my mind is, okay, 9 years does not mean that this is the end of the world for Haaland. 9 years simply means you are never getting Haaland from us for free. That's the way I see it, right? Madrid can sign Haaland tomorrow if they want to. It's just a case of bring money. Yeah. You're never getting him for free. And that's the only way I saw it. So I saw it, and I mean, there's also that sentimental part of Man City and Haaland, the Haaland story, where Alfie Haaland played for Man City.
Yeah.
I think I watched the Haaland unveiling. They dropped quite a number of videos, and one of them was Haaland speaking with his dad that the deal had been signed. So there's also that sentimental attachment. And you consider that City are not trying to be a big club anymore. They are already a big club. They just won the Champions League. So it's not like Haaland have not really gotten to the pinnacle of world football of today. He already is at the pinnacle of world football. We all know that if there's any other club that Haaland should be leaving Man City for, it's just one or two clubs, Barcelona or Real Madrid.
Please, not Barcelona. Thank you. Real Madrid.
But I mean,
Real Madrid.
it could be.
Please, let
it could be.
It
could be, and it could be either of them. So, but you can see that it's not that kind of thing where you say you're still trying to climb the ladders of football. You're already at the top of it. You're with a club that just won the champion. So there really is not much you are looking for. You're just trying. It's like the Kylian Mbappe story, where Mbappe, it was just obvious it's one club. When you're at that stage of your career, there's really not much. It's all about creating a legacy for yourself. And I think that's what the Haaland Man City scenario is about, the sentimental attachments that he already has with the club. And then the fact that maybe the club just do not want to let this guy ever leave their sites for a paltry sum or possibly free of charge. That's the way I saw it. I'm even thinking about the 115 charges of the.
Those are really brilliant takes. Treasure, can you top that, or do you agree with any side?
Please. I beg, after this kind of brilliant take, what else do I actually want to say?
But which do you feel is more possible? I think
mine was just the fishy angle.
It's really fishy to me, man.
This was the regular.
It's really fishy because
It's just
9 years. Wow.
9 years is a long time.
I mean, we also have to consider just before Haaland, they just signed another player for a long term. I think 6 years. 6 years. This thing. So
6 years. It's still here about 6 years.
What happened? This was not their process before.
But yeah, that's
Exactly.
the thing. Something actually changed.
That's the way. That's where I'm actually just wondering. But wait, they said that the 115 charges that we had the final resolution at March this year.
March.
That they will give us.
I'm very sure we're not hearing that in March.
In March. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed and wait for.
All right, that wasn't the only thing that happened in the past week, and I'm going to let the guys just pick out a single thing that they enjoyed or a talking point they want to bring out from the games that happened in England, La Liga. We saw Real Madrid get their ass handed to them in the Super Cup final, but we'll get to that. Treasure, what's your pick from the last game?
As I sat down here before the show started, I already said it. There was a madness that happened in Ojo. Amadinho, and just before the show started as well, we're arguing that it's a recent run of form, and I'm arguing that against, like, I don't think it's just a recent run of form. I actually do think like he has that, or he has always been showing glimpses of of that potential. All he needed was a lengthy run of games for us to finally see what Ahmad is going to, like, what Ahmad is all about. And I think, like, I give thanks to Sunderland, because I think Sunderland really put their trust in Ahmad when he felt like Ahmad's career was at a very rocky place, because he had come into Man U. They said we didn't have right winger. You brought Ahmad, you brought Pelestri. You still said you didn't have a right winger, then brought Sancho and then carried Sancho to the left wing. It just didn't make any sense. And so he had gone to Rangers. He had come
Is that
back.
the only people? Talk about the last person that they brought now. How can you forget the right person that they brought from Ajax? 100 million.
No. Let's just
Ignore him.
Just ignore him and let that one slide and everything. And then from going to Rangers, he had a mixed spell in Rangers, but it was in Sunderland that we actually started really seeing what Ahmad was all about, and that potential actually coming out. And then it felt like Ten Hag wanted to snuff my guy again, but God said no. And then now we have Amorim, and we see Ahmad is actually doing extremely well in Amorim's system as well, because he's that kind of player that likes to exploit the spaces and enters back into the middle and stuff like that. So it feels like this is actually working out, or the setup is actually really working out for him. So for me, standout was Ahmad. Yes, we shouldn't have struggled against Southampton, but don't take it away from him. It feels like if Ahmad is having an off day right now, remind you, our attack is literally non-existent.
So he's basically breaking records or becoming in lists where you'd see. I mean, the last United players to score against City and Liverpool in their grounds were Rooney and Van Persie. He's also been part of the United players to score, not even United, Premier League players to score in the last 12, an hat-trick in the last 12 minutes of the game. Solskjaer has done that before. Rooney has done that before. Now Ahmad is there. How big of a dent does this impact Erik ten Hag's career, considering he consistently continue to keep him out?
Ten Hag's career doesn't need any dent anymore.
Wow.
It's already,
Wow.
it's already dented. So his stock is so low. Ten Hag's stock right now is so low. I mean, I don't think there were many faults with what he did at Manchester United. The Ahmad thing is one of many. So I don't think this one. I mean, everybody knew he preferred his Ajax boys. Anthony was one of them. I don't know why. I'm not a Manchester United fan. I'm not sure why he kept Ahmad in the shadows for so long. And I mean, I'm very happy.
But Benny McCarthy actually came out and said it was more of a tactical setup, because he felt like he actually said this, that he felt like when they needed to do certain things, some other players were most likely going to deliver on some things more than Ahmad was going to.
Anybody can come out and say anything.
That was Benny McCarthy's point.
Anybody can come out and say anything. But what we're seeing right now, I don't know what Anthony could deliver.
Really light in your season, this season. I mean, really.
Maguire. I would make an argument for Maguire. That's three.
Maguire is another conversation.
That three at the back is actually really
help him.
It's always been his even in England. That's what makes him perform very well in the English national team. But yeah, so Erik ten Hag is done out here, right?
Erik ten Hag is done, really.
Jidechi, any talk on Ahmad?
I mean, well, one thing he said that I would not agree with, that's the Ben McCarthy statement, which is something we usually, it's a life thing, it's a football thing. Sometimes when you try something, it's not working. It only makes sense. You just try
Switch it up.
else. Switch it up. And that was one problem with Ten Hag. Kept repeating the same players. Kept repeating pretty much the same players. And that's why I don't think the Ahmad thing is really forgivable, because you had other people you could try out at certain points, and you just kept giving. I think it's also something we saw with Ole a lot. Ole gave particular players more time than other players, and it's usually a problem, because when things like this happen, someone that would have most likely defended you do not even have any points to defend anymore, and it's just crazy. So yeah, there's no reason why you shouldn't have given Ahmad more minutes, if not for any reason, just for the sake that the players you have not been delivering, they've not been saving you. So give other people some time, and then.
All right. Treasure had a mad time in Manchester. Abola, what was your pick from the past week?
I mean, we're talking about the title race in the Premier League. I was asking you a question whether the title race was done. And to be honest, I'm not sure. So I'm not going to go there. I actually think over the past over the past week, especially the set of midweek games, I think we're going to see a very, very, very interesting top 4 race. There are like 5-6 teams that are going to fight for 3 places. I mean, everybody's sure that Liverpool
We
will be
even
there.
mentioned it last week. Sorry to cut you short.
Yeah.
Like between, I think 3rd and 4th, and about 9th was just 6 points gap. Like, so anybody could at any point in time.
So the game that intrigued me the most was the Nottingham Forest Liverpool game. I mean, Liverpool are top of the league; they're flying away. So, and then you're visiting a Forest team that simply aren't going away. I genuinely, before the match, I expected that Liverpool would show, superiority.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Genuinely.
I didn't captain Salah. I didn't. I was not pressed to buy any Liverpool assets.
We trust.
Like, no, for real. Like,
Yeah, you can't take people that play against Man United.
I was.
That's what you do every week.
I was shocked that Eniola last week said he thinks Nottingham Forest will drop out. I just don't see how.
I think where he was coming from was the whole law of averages thing. Like certain people have a good run of form, but eventually everything will balance out.
They've had a good run of form since when?
So I saw an angle to Nottingham Forest where, they have a fantastic goalkeeper himself. He's been the best keeper.
Oh yes,
Yes.
And
That
he saves
centre
immediately.
back Murillo and Milekovic.
They have 2 centre backs that are doing extremely well.
Bruh.
They're full backs. I know he's one of the best right backs in the world right now. Or one of the best right backs in the league, if you want to say the world. In midfield, they have Morgan Gibbs White. And the good thing about their setup is that anytime they set up, solidly with their low block or their mid block, they do not need more than 3-4 players to attack any team. Once you have Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, and Morgan Gibbs White, who has a very, very good passing range, and then Chris Wood in front. So they finished against Everton. I've not seen Chris Wood. We've watched Chris Wood for over 15 years, but I South Africa World Cup. And they're angry with breathing now.
So don't you think Nottingham is having more of a fluke of a season, because it feels like everything.
Like,
let me explain.
No, I don't think it's a
hold
fluke.
on.
Not even close to fluke.
Hold on, guys. Let me explain what I mean. It feels like everything at the moment is just going right. Now, my question is this sustainable in the long run? Because I personally don't think it is.
So
My question is, what is the
question
long
is,
run?
So you
What
have-
thank you very much. You've done half a season.
You have
Yeah,
teams
yeah.
like, so
They've
for
won
example,
20 games.
so you have teams like, for example, there was this season that Aston Villa did very well. Was it last season or 2 seasons ago?
Last season. Finished in the top
the
4.
Champions League, they finished in the top 4, and then
Yeah.
it was like, and then this season they
They
are
are
not as
sixth.
good, but they are not as good as last season.
Yeah, because they're
and
in
that's
Europe, they
that's
have
my
many
point.
games.
Like we always have these teams that for like maybe half a season or for a full season, it feels like, oh, they've done well. But when you now start having adding the European commitments, right? We actually see them that they're not able to keep up those standards.
Yes,
I
but
personally think,
You said
I
it yourself that
personally
is the
think-
European
I personally
commitment.
think Nottingham can't keep up the standards.
Up to when? The end of the season.
Do you get?
How many years ago? Come on now. Come on.
So as much as we would love to overlook that, let's start from it's like digging the roots and starting from there. Let's start from there. Talking about a club that has history. Now that's one side. Now you're talking about a club that did a proper squad overhaul. It didn't start this season.
No, he didn't.
Exactly.
It did not. So don't look at it like
But it
don't
took-
look at it like a Leicester City. Don't look at it like an Aston Villa. We can talk about
No, you can look at Aston Villa.
when the Aston Villa build starts.
It's similar to Aston Villa. really.
So my own is,
It's
do
not
we
exactly
actually
similar, but
trust
Aston Villa
these guys,
got
these
their
players?
results in the season they did
Yeah,
they
actually.
brought, what's his name? They
So
brought
this
Eddie.
Nottingham Forest run actually started last
They
season.
brought- Is it last year or 2 years ago?
No, I'm talking about this particular great run. It started at the end of last year. Charlie with Chris Wood.
they run, yeah.
So
When
it's
it
not.
started 2 years. Was it not 2 seasons?
We have
ago
seen-
that Awoni joined.
Yeah.
Yes.
Evangelist took over the club.
Yes.
This is a 2-year project. So you're not talking about something that just started. So what makes you think that because the results are coming now, it's going to end?
So
What makes you think that the man is not really
why
going
am
to step further?
Treasure,
Why I'm
I'm going to
thinking
hold
this
you.
way.
I'm going to hold you because
Okay, hold
we're
on.
going to go on a very short break.
Sorry.
Interesting conversation so far. And when we come back, we'll wrap the conversation up around Nottingham Forest. Whether you think they're here to stay or they're actually just a club in the moment. Or I feel whether in the moment or here to stay, they've done an amazing job. And I believe they can keep it up to the end of the season. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back. It's been an amazing session today with the smartest minds in the TSL community, except Treasure. Big shout out to Jidechi and Ayobola with Santi, with our Treasure. We're talking about just before the show went out. We're having a very interesting conversation about Nottingham Forest and where we think they'll finish this season. I personally believe they've done well enough to say this season they would still stay in the top four because they really look solid. It's like they packed a band of rejects because Callum Hudson-Odoi didn't make it at Chelsea, Melanga didn't make it at Manchester United, Chris Wood didn't make it at Newcastle, and even Gibbs White didn't make it at Wolves, and they've all come together to form something special. Although Treasure thinks their bandwidth will soon drop, and next season they will fall off as usual. But yeah, we'll be moving on to one final conversation from the past week, and I'm going to bring up this topic, and it's something similar to Jidechi and his versatility as an analyst, a journalist as well. And I'm going to give you guys a story here. Sometime in 2017, when I was working for a company, redacted, let me not call the company's name out. I was working as a payment specialist here. And someone told me, one of my mentors at the time, told me that, see, it's good that you're working as a payment specialist, but I need you to add one more role to what you do. To find one more skill and do that thing. I'm telling you, it didn't take me 1 month to learn that thing. I learned it. And just 2 weeks after that, they told everybody in that payment specialist team to go. So having a different role or knowing how to play a different role in that company saved my job, basically. And we're going to talk about Joe Linton now for Newcastle.
Testimony in church.
Yes, I did. Trust me, I did. It was. I still owe my career as a banker to that person till today. Oh. So we're translating it to Joe Linton at Newcastle. Someone who came in from Offingham again, and he didn't really perform well as a striker in Newcastle, but what happened was he was able to find a place in the team as a midfielder, and he's been a mainstay in that Newcastle side. So, first of all, before we're going to go around and just give examples of guys who actually changed their roles and found a way to be in the team or even became better in that position. But let's talk Joe Linton and Ebola, and how important is he for this Newcastle side?
He's so important. It's very important because the base of Newcastle, really, especially since their manager got in there, was its physicality, really.
Yeah.
Physicality. From the goalkeeper up until the centre forward, even when Callum Wilson was there, they aimed to dominate physically all over the pitch. And having Joe Linton right there in centre midfield, alongside Guimaraes and Tonali, epitomizes what the manager wants to bring in. Joe Linton.
I have an agenda. I'll mention it later.
Joe Linton can move around. That's what he is. He can basically put himself about. And without that, when Joe Linton was out last year, we had Newcastle had Tonali with the betting ban, and then Joe Linton had his injuries, and that was what basically killed their season. Messed up their season. This year, everybody is back. They have everybody back, and then they're chasing the top four. That's what
they're in the top four.
They're there now.
They're there now.
Interesting. That's what Joe Linton, the physicality, really. That's what Joe Linton is.
Brilliantly said. Jidechi, what's your take as regards his impact in that Newcastle side?
Yeah, I think we can see the impact on the position where Newcastle are on the table right now. I think one very interesting thing about it is it's not many times you get players who have primarily played a particular role for a long time. Many players we get to see this kind of change with are players that make the change early in their career. But Joe Linton, for the fact that he also was given the chance, because many times you really do not get that chance within your own team setup, because you have internal battles. You're leaving one department to join another department. You really have to fight your place. But the fact that his manager really gave him that room for that change, I think is also a good highlight for Eddie Howe, considering that within your own team you can try to give your players that room to find their strong points. And it's something that tells that you really are a good manager. It's not just about what happens on the pitch of play. Also, the fact that you could take time and take a second look at your team to see what can work better for you. And somehow, we can see how that is really showing in the Newcastle team, and it's quite an impressive thing. So for me, I would rather say it's more the manager thing even than Joelinton, because many other sides in many other club sides, Joelinton will most likely have not even had that opportunity to make that switch to where he currently plays.
So the brilliance of Eddie Howe.
Was Eddie Howe that was there when he made the switch? I mean, he made the switch.
Was it?
I think so. I think it was.
I think that was.
Eddie Howe joined about 3 seasons ago.
Yeah,
He
definitely.
made the switch. I think that was around the middle of last season or late last season.
Definitely done. Treasure, you have an agenda.
Yeah, so
What's
the agenda for me was there was a poll I saw. They put Chelsea's midfield trio, Liverpool's midfield trio, Newcastle's midfield trio, and which other midfield trio? There were about 4 or 5, and they were like, pick your preferred or your best midfield trio, and I actually went with Newcastle's midfield trio. That's Tonali, Bruno G, and Joelinton. And the reason being that, as you said, that's like physicality, but not just that physicality, that energy. You know how, if you imagine taking that midfield trio from Newcastle and putting it in Manchester United's midfield, like that ability to cover space, cover ground, being physical and all those kind of things. Like, I do think like Joelinton is one of the major catalysts for all of that, right? And like, as he said, like, it's also onus to the coach to be able to see, okay, maybe this guy can actually do something else. Maybe he's just the profiling of this player, which I think a lot of players need to be properly profiled, right? Maybe you have attributes to be able to play in other places or in other key places based on maybe your vision, based on this, based on that, based on this. But being able to, and it's still kudos to Joelinton, being able to say, okay, you know what, my manager needs me to no longer play my preferred position and what I would love to play, but being able to knuckle down and basically still perform at a high level, then I need to give him like props for that. Just as if Bamiji was able to, learn the new skill, and now look at him today.
we thank God for that. We thank God. But yeah, well said. And so let's kick off now, and everyone just give an example of someone who changed roles in their career and it became. I'll start. Because I have just one. You guys have more than one.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
I'm going to go with Antonio Valencia, who moved from a right winger. Funny enough, he wasn't so bad as a right winger for United. 2009-2010, I think he assisted Ray Rooney with so many headed goals that season. But I think 11-12, he started dropping. And
I think when he got the number 7 shirt.
Yes, he started dropping.
You know why I love Valencia? You know he wants to do that one thing, but you almost can't stop him. He will go to
that
the
was
right
then.
and cross.
They started stopping
When he
him.
got older now.
Not older. He wasn't necessarily older.
Really?
He just
Just when he got that number 7
that pressure of number 7 shirt went off, and he
Then
became a
Baba
right
went
back.
back to 25. I know he reverted back to 25. Yeah.
I went back to right back and had a decent career for Man United, although in the banter era, but at least he still did okay for Jose Mourinho. So that's my own take.
Two players.
Just one. Mention one. Again, one. Mention one.
Just one verse.
I'll start from home, right? John Mikel Obi, who should have been an attacking midfielder and had to be a defensive midfielder. And somehow, I mean, it paid off for him. I always wondered what Mikel would have been if he had continued as that attacking midfielder under Ferguson. I actually wonder what it, but somehow he possibly is one of the greatest.
He was second to Messi in that tournament.
Yeah, possibly one of the
Bro,
greatest.
and the way their careers, wow.
Yeah, so I think that's one.
Calm down.
Say
Calm down.
Let me drop the that
Treasure.
person.
I
Yeah.
actually have 3.
Give us one.
The other 2 guys are more like role switch, but one player that really comes to my mind is Gareth Bale. Left back to left winger to right winger. And in each role, he actually did extraordinarily well, like in each of those roles. And then when he was in Real Madrid, and at a point, it felt like Rafa Benitez was favoring him over Ronaldo. That caused a bit of friction. 1 year like that. But like Gareth Bale for me was like my first choice pick. As soon as I heard this question, the first person that came to my mind was Bale.
And he exploded, really.
Ayobola.
I mean, my own is a player who used the position change to elongate his career, really. He's still playing now. He almost played with his son in the FA Cup. I mean, everybody remembers Ashley Young when he was in Aston Villa. He was a flying winger.
But I'm sorry.
He was a flying winger.
I like the fact that you said he used it to elongate, because has he really been better as a right wing?
I mean, he's still a professional. That's the point. He was a winger. I kid you not, he would have retired. No, but he
Yeah,
won't be a
I
40-year-old,
agree.
39-year-old winger at this point.
I agree.
So he used that position change to, conserve energy and then play.
That's fantastic.
That's the
Fair
first
enough.
one, yeah.
So let's you
Surprised
can give us your
surprised
others
nobody mentioned Sergio Ramos. That was the other person I wanted to mention.
from right back to
From right back
centre
to
back.
From a
Centre back.
striker
yes.
to a defender.
A striker too.
I didn't know when it was a striker. I'm sorry.
I think he was a striker at Sevilla.
At Sevilla, no.
Yes.
I don't think so.
I think he was.
I know the
He
one I
was a
remember.
Unless it was a youth
He
program or
used to
something.
be Madrid's right back that year.
No, he used to be Sevilla's right back actually.
Yeah, even when he moved to Madrid, he was a right back. It was Mourinho that moved him to centre back.
Mourinho saw something
It was
in
Mourinho
this
that
guy.
moved him to centre
Before
back.
he actually moved to right back, I think he was a forward. I think it was his first year in Sevilla. He was a forward, and then now moved to the defensive position
Yeah,
because he now went. To
And
the
I remember
central
someone that his
interesting.
career almost mirrors Jolinton because he was also a striker. And then he got an injury, Alan Smith. Can you remember Alan Smith for Leeds?
United.
And
he moved to
United.
United,
So
yeah.
he bought him as a striker. He broke his leg. And then Rooney, Sahab, and Stroy came up. He couldn't break him as a striker anymore. And he started deploying him in
Even
central midfield
same
before he
thing
moved to
happened with
Newcastle.
Rooney. Rooney was
Yeah, Rooney
majorly
too.
attack. Then when he done the old, then Baba enter midfield, started the spray pass.
Brilliant options everywhere. Who do you think are the best option or the best example for this particular topic that we're talking? Let us know on our WhatsApp channel or Instagram or Twitter at Popcentral or even at Home of the Sports Lounge. We'll be moving on now. Okay,
I have one more.
one more person. Okay, let's scream out.
Ronaldo. Ronaldo was a winger and went to a strike position. I mean, still the same department, but come on, when you think about it.
Okay, the
winger
impact
scored
impact
more
made.
goals.
By that one,
The
even
impact
he actually
made.
scored more
even the
goals. as-
Firmino way we they argue self, you don't go around.
But yeah,
Fair enough. But yeah, you just spoke about forward, and there was a conversation that broke out during the break. Very interesting, and we'll try and touch it before we end. But let's come home and to where GTH is more comfortable, and let's talk about our new meme coach. So, I mean, the reactions and the feeling from the Nigerian journalism space is that this guy is not going to do well already. And do you echo that thought? And what's your feel as regards Eric Chell's appointment as the Super Eagles manager?
I don't think I have any. I honestly am indifferent about it right now because, first of all, we're in a precarious position. So it's a case of just gamble on anything possible. Because even if you bring, let's just imagine we got a Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola. There's no guarantee per se that they're going to win.
Make the World Cup, really.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
There's no guarantee.
But would you feel more confident?
I mean, I would feel more comfortable, but there's also that part where you need to be honest with yourself. The NFF cannot pay the grade A managers right now. They've said it on multiple occasions. They are broke. Nigeria is broke. So Nigeria funds the federation, the football federation, or rather the sports commission funds the football federation. It's still government money. Money no day. So let's be honest that we cannot get the best of the best. So it's a case of get somebody. I think I'm okay with Shell's appointment solely because I love an attacking-minded manager, right? And I love what he was able to achieve with Mali at the AFCON. That's the only thing. He's not really performed so much in his career that you would say
There's enough sample size to look at.
So there really is nothing much to work with. It's only hope. I always, whenever we get a new manager, I always repeat the same phrase. I always repeat the same phrase. We can only hope for the best because if you don't hope for the best, who are you doing? You're doing yourself. Nigeria will not play at the World Cup. Our favorite players, Osimhen and the likes, will not go. So you can only hope that the manager performs, right? And at this point, there really is no guarantee. So it's a case of let's just wait until it's time. Match is not a far time away. We have 2 matches in 2 games a match, and then we play that. And then we can now start saying, okay, but then we've already entered the pot of soup, whatever it is.
But this whole thing, somebody said, if Joy no later come, may they arrest Fido. Bro, you're going to say sorry.
So, I mean, when you said that people feel Chell will fail, I think, especially with Nigerian journalists, I think they come from a place of bias, and I have that bias. The bias being that for the national team, really, the way you have national team players, it's only your national, it's only people who are citizens of a country that should really
we've never really had an African.
that should really represent that country. You can't go and bring a player from another country to play for the country. And some people have the same agenda that it should extend to the manager of the national team as well. So if you're going to go outside the space of a Nigerian coach, if you're saying Nigerian coaches aren't good enough, you're supposed to then bring a big name, not someone from Mali. I think that's honestly, I think that's the.
He does have a point.
Why not Mali?
He does have a point. When last did Mali actually do well on
what did they do in that
African scene?
I mean,
it could also just be the quality of players.
Let's look at it.
It was the friendly against Nigeria.
Nigerians have more quality.
Let's look at it this way, right? Sorry. Let's look at it this way. When the whole nationality thing came into picture, I was like, it's giving subtle racism, honestly.
Because we had external coaches.
We always go for coaches from other nationalities. In fact, let me just say it the way it is. We always go for white coaches.
White coaches.
We always go for what's the word? What's the word you use for the British and this other people? No, not Oyibo. People that we always go for the colonist countries.
Colonial.
Or
English or
the
French.
colonist coaches. And here's the funny thing, right? We've not exactly had a great coach in a long time.
A great Nigerian coach.
A great coach in
coach.
general.
In general, think about it. The last
Keshi
two
was the last
coaches. No, leave Keshi. Keshi had history. In fact, that was even the last great coach we had. Because Keshi had history, right? Think about it. Jose Peseiro was a journeyman. He didn't perform at Venezuela. He didn't perform at... Perhaps the only place he performed was when he worked with Jose Mourinho at Porto. And he wasn't the number one at Porto. He was an assistant. Gernot Rohr was based on...
in African football.
Was based on... Amaju Pinnick really does a lot of things in football, but when you think about it, think as far back as you want to. Let's say from 2010 to
Lagerback was the worst, I'm sorry.
Last Lagerback. Think about it. So who exactly did we bring that you say was... So why is it with an African man we suddenly have an issue?
Yeah, that's my... I'm not saying I have an
The
issue.
only decent coach we've ever had based on good CV was Stephen Keshi. And this is a man that Stephen Keshi and Shaibu Amodu was so disrespected because this man qualified us for the World Cup.
So if it's about CV,
why is the African man
if it's about that,
triggering you?
There is really nothing that Shell has done.
It's on the same level as Gernot Rohr. It's on the same. He's on the same level as.
I don't think it is. Gernot Rohr has still managed African countries before.
And performed. What was the performance?
But he has still done it. Really.
No,
he has still done it. If you had gone for someone like Pizzo,
let me ask you a question. Why are you this uncomfortable? Why are you this uncomfortable?
Don't rain on Iron Parade. Don't rain on Iron Parade.
I'm playing
I know you are. That's why protecting you. Treasure, what's your point?
So, to a very large extent, I don't think there's been any coach we've appointed recently that I'm okay, yes. So in my mind I'm okay, we've given another guy the opportunity. Let's as you said, let's hope he actually does well. Right?
Just do it.
It's because technically I can't remember the last time that I was really, maybe apart from this last AFCON, that I was really excited about Nigeria, something like Nigerian football and and all. So when people are shouting, oh, that why will he be a Mali? I almost I'm tilting towards his side. When we had the white coaches, we didn't have issues with them.
And they performed.
We didn't have issues with them. So, and what's really the difference between this guy they've actually appointed
and the white coach
and those guys?
No, there's no difference. Actually,
Just
there's
color.
no difference.
No, there's a difference. There's a difference.
What's the difference?
Their skin color.
That's why I said just color.
Their skin color.
call it.
Say it. Call it.
And then there was no this backlash.
I call Pizzo. What is Pizzo's skin color?
No, you are calling Pizzo. Pizzo is on the same level as a
Chef?
Pep Guardiola.
Okay, so we cannot
Africa.
afford Pizzo. That's
Pizzo is not.
So
Pizzo is
my
not.
own
Pizzo is
my own
grade
angle
A.
is this. And
Pizzo is like the number one of black
So
coaches.
Pizzo na grade.
So he's not. If you're saying Pizzo, then as well, we want to go for white skin coaches.
Is it racism? Is it subtle racism to say the coaches of national teams should be from that country.
I agree with you.
If the players can't be from,
I
if the
I
agree
players
with you
have
though.
to-
I low-key
Because
think-
most
I
of the
mean,
coaches from the last World Cup winning teams are actually from their own national.
I low-key think I think it's a FIFA thing, right? I low-key think football should have been set up that way
from the
originally.
start.
But the fact that it's not set up that way, except there's a FIFA rule that changes it right now. But I low-key think that should be the way to go in terms of national team football. But it's not what is happening.
All right, to wrap up this conversation here, I'm going to ask you, do you think we'd make it to the World Cup? You're the one in that space, so please.
That's a big question. Nobody knows what's good. Nobody knows tomorrow. I genuinely cannot. Cannot.
This is the typical. This is the typical.
So we should buy our
Nigerian
cash flow
response.
calculators and...
Yes.
The truth is that we're already in that space. We cannot, and it's unfortunate that it's not one person that put us in that space at this point. So
Despite the
there's
reach
really-
of attacking talent, we have the African
it's
best player in
sad,
the world.
to be honest. So I genuinely cannot answer the question because one is on charter terrains with the new management, and you cannot bank on the fact. It's not like our last couple of games has been so promising per se that you say we are going to blow out every other team we are going to play. So it's dicey. That's the simple truth. Can we make it? Do we have the quality? Do we have the ability to make it? Yes. Are we going to make it? That one I cannot answer.
All right, let's move to questions that we can answer. And we'll go back from Africa to Europe. And I'm going to ask you guys straight up, because we're going to talk about the art of striking right now. And is Nicola Jackson a good striker?
He's a good footballer. But he's not a good
Please, don't. This is not the time to be. This is not the time to be political. It's not the time to be political. Just it's a straight answer, and you give us a reason why for your answer. I don't care whether he's a good footballer or not. I don't care. Is Nicola Jackson a good striker?
He's a good striker.
Can I
But he's
afford
not
not-
world class. He's not elite. He's a good striker. Let me put it that way. His numbers, last season he scored over 15 goals. This season he's on track to score nearly 20 goals. And those are numbers of a good striker, whether you like it or not.
So hold on. Do you think it's top 5 strikers in the league right now?
No.
So he's not top 5 in EPL.
So it doesn't mean that they're only
But he's
five
a good
strikers.
striker.
Yes,
He's a
no.
good striker.
Okay.
In the league. I think he's top 5 in the league.
Thank you
No, I
for
don't
going
think-
Based on
first.
his
Thank you for
numbers
actually
this
going
season.
first.
I genuinely think he's top 5 in the league.
No, I can call 5 strikers I would prefer over him.
What's 5? Let's go.
Haaland.
Okay, Haaland is number
Correct. I
Isak.
agree with you.
Isak is number 2. These are the
By
two
far.
best in the
Right now, Wood.
league. Right now. Okay, exactly.
Right now,
Because
Wood.
is 3.
Correct.
And I'll call Wissa.
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing because of his name. I'm not laughing because it's actually true.
Honestly.
I'll pick Wissa over Jackson.
Wissa over Jackson. too.
Interesting. I actually never thought
I actually
of
would
this,
pick.
Sasha.
Wow, that's actually true. I would pick Wissa
Do you
over
feel
And
me?
then you call maybe Watkins.
Watkins or
Watkins
Jackson?
on the same
No,
level.
You pick Watkins over Jackson?
This season, no.
This is in
Yeah, Watkins hasn't
no.
had a great season.
No.
No,
He hasn't
this
had-
is
having
in
a
no.
great season.
Duran or Jackson?
Duran's number is not up to Jackson. I think Duran has the potentials to mark Jackson, but I mean, there's that struggle for playing time at Aston Villa. Watkins over Duran versus Duran. So if Duran had as many games as Jackson did have, I think I'm very sure that Duran would have been possibly around the same numbers as Jackson. I think so. Watkins, I'm not sure. Watkins, his confidence is down, right?
No, it's
So
not.
are you
It's-
going to discredit what he did last season?
Are we talking about on a general term or just this season?
General
alone?
term.
On a general term.
See, okay,
Watkins
put
over
everything
Jackson.
in consideration.
Watkins over Jackson.
Let me
obviously.
stir the pot a bit. Solanke or Jackson?
No.
Nah,
Jackson
I'll personally
over-
pick
Solanke
Jackson. I'll
or
pick Jackson.
Jackson?
I'll pick
Jackson
Jackson.
over-
I don't really like Solanke.
Like I said,
Chelsea fans, please don't come for me. I just asked a question.
Jackson over Solanke.
Same here.
I'll pick Jackson. honestly.
So the reason for this conversation is because Chelsea fans have had a love-hate relationship with Jackson this particular season.
I think it's been up and down. No? They love him sometimes, they hate him some other times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So start of the season, there's some goals he scored, goals against I think Liverpool and West Ham, and I'm like, Jackson, okay, that's good. There's an improvement in the finishing. We've never doubted the fact that he can play ball. Yes, he can play ball, which you're right that yeah, he's a good footballer. The assist to Palmer against Bournemouth was absolutely
was
top
world
notch.
class.
I loved it, and I think there was a chance. Some minutes after he hit the bar,
That he ran with the ball
Yes.
to the middle and hit.
Brilliant. But at the end of the day, what I'm asking the guys today is, as a striker, if you don't put the ball in the back of the net, how much is all of that going to worth later on?
But he's still putting in. But I just mentioned his numbers. His numbers are still.
Then why are Chelsea fans not satisfied?
Unfortunately, I mean, football is about moments.
And so if you cannot take your moment,
that's the thing. So when I say it's
so
about moments,
are you agreeing that he's someone that cannot take moment?
unfortunately, I mean, at the highest level, when the lights are on him, he can't. He can't. He has proven short in that.
And you still want to accept that he's a great striker?
I said it's a
Good, sorry, good.
I
Good.
said he's a good striker. I said good striker. So the thing with Chelsea fans and him, obviously, like I said, football is about moments. You have a big moment in a very big game. Remember the Man City Chelsea game from last season, the FA Cup. It's a big moment. It's a big stage. Jackson had scored. I mean, it was even in April where Jackson was in great form. He started scoring for Poch and all. But then that was a very, very big game. An FA Cup semi-final, chance to, score a goal and then put your name in the history books. And then you are trophy chances at that stage. Or think of, for instance, I'm going to go way back now, the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. Everybody remembers Yakubu's miss till today. Nobody thinks about the fact that he scored in that goal because that miss was a
Nobody
huge
thinks about the fact that Yakubu is possibly one of the best strikers.
Exactly, nobody thinks about that fact. But everybody remembers that moment. And that's what football is about, the big moments.
Brilliant.
And Jackson always just falls short there.
I agree.
That's the problem.
We're rounding up very shortly. What treasure?
So the Jackson conundrum is actually one that is pretty interesting because I don't really care about the guy, but he seems to have his good moments. He seems to have like the moments when you're like, oh, like Jackson, like what can he do? And then all of a sudden he goes on this like run of games where it seems like he's popping anyhow, and then after some time it feels like he's back to the Jackson we all know and don't really love. I know. So he is, if I had to pick strikers, he would be my top 5. I would struggle to even probably put him in my top 10.
Jackson or
Is this based
Højlund?
on sentiment?
Jackson or Højlund?
Is this based on
I'd
sentiment?
rather not have.
Would you have Jackson in Manchester?
I'd rather not have a striker.
Would you prefer
So
Jackson
based
over
on
the strikers
sentiment,
in
you
your
will
team?
not have a striker that is delivering like 15 goals just because
Jackson
you don't
delivered
like him.
15 goals.
Højlund
That's
delivered
something.
15 goals last season.
I think in
Well,
in turnover
So, but
rate-
will you
Exactly.
prefer Højlund in your team over Jackson?
Right now, no.
No.
I recently signed off from the Højlund train, so I'm not. I'm not.
This Bamiji go still sign back on. No worry, just give us more time.
I'm not signing back on because honestly, the fact that we saw what Zexi did in the second half against the game against Southampton, and
Let's not. Go
United fans generally have gotten tired of what Højlund has to offer.
United fans are like this. Let's not go there, please. United fans were the same United fans that in 35 minutes when Zexi was coming off, we were booing him. To the next 2 games after or something, he managed to do some nice touches. Everybody was shouting Zexi. Please, I can't go with United
What has
fans.
Højlund done in those last 2 games?
So to be very candid, Højlund hasn't really done anything. But my point is, like, it's the same train. Start Zexi. We put Zexi in, and then he has a stinker. And then we start shouting, Zexi should be out. This one, that one. I remember when Zexi, there was a game, our Europa League game, Zexi started. Zexi played literally nothing. They took him out, brought Højlund. Højlund scored the 2 goals or thereabout that made us win the game. And then everybody was like, we should be starting Højlund. Højlund, we should be starting Højlund. And then we started Højlund, and here we are again. So what is the guarantee that, okay, you put Zexi back in the starting lineup, he actually does any better than Højlund? And I'm tired of this up and down with football fans, where today one player is doing like this, and then we are all on his train, and then tomorrow he's doing like this, and everybody's sack him, sign him. What is it? Like, so to be very candid, I feel like whoever the coach wants to start, let him start. If it's that, okay, maybe there's a problem, because I think Højlund does have some form of confidence issue right now, and then maybe he's not properly clicking with the team and stuff like that. But I do think like we should stop the whole reactionary, when Zexi now starts starting and starts giving us a stinker, we are shouting Højlund should come back into the team. I'm just tired of it.
Well, I don't know about you. I don't think anybody will be calling for Højlund anytime soon. I will wrap it up. And GDH, it's been an amazing pleasure with you. Thank you so much. Hope to see you again very, very soon. And we'll be talking about games to come. Most of the games we're focusing on will be in the Serie A. There are a lot of interesting games coming in Serie A. Juventus taking on Milan.
He draw. Thiago
Motta has come to draw in Serie A. But what do you think about that game? What do you think is going to happen?
A draw.
That's the end. Next.
Atalanta Napoli.
We have come to
Atalanta Napoli.
Napoli are losing their best player.
That's actually a dice.
Has he been the best player this season?
But he's their best player.
But it
Who
doesn't
is
mean that.
But it's still their best. I mean, it's their best package.
yeah.
I mean, it's their best
Actually,
player.
I'm very curious to see how they are going to adapt to that because
Antonio Conte is
I
one to
think-
not care about
I think
roughing.
one thing is I want one thing to happen in Serie A this season, not Napoli to win the league.
I want
and I'm
Atalanta.
down for Tavares
Why not Napoli?
because
Why?
I don't want them to relieve what they did and be like we can do without
Osimhen.
Osimhen. It's a hate train right
there's
now.
a Nigerian man.
So
bias there.
anything
You know
but
somewhere.
Napoli to get down from that first position. So yes, I think I'll just give my prediction straight up. Atalanta to win next today, please.
But that's a very biased prediction. But no, Treasure.
I'm tilting towards Atalanta. Oh. Last time when I think one of the games when I backed Napoli and then Napoli actually dropped a stinker. So let me just tilt towards.
And finally,
peacefully tilt towards
I mean, Atalanta won in Napoli in the first.
Yeah,
game.
that
Lukman
was,
scored
that,
two
was,
goals.
that was the game I was tilting. And
scored
then they
two
dropped
goals.
the stinker.
And with the
Please, I'm
Nigerian
tilting
factor, I
towards
mean,
Atalanta.
we're all backing
Anything
Lukman.
in
Everybody's
Serie A
backing
this
Lukman.
season but Napoli win the league.
So
No.
Inter or Atalanta?
No, Atalanta to
Essentially.
win the league, please.
All right, you've heard it from the guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us for the past hour. It's been very interesting. We're back again next week to give you the best. There's the NFL Super Bowl coming up, right? Treasure will come again with the guys to give us review of what would have happened in the past week. Thank you so much. Till next week. Goodbye.